One Piece, From Nobody to Legendary Pirate King, Episode 21. Lu Chongkong, who came to this small island to start special training, basically lived a life that can be said to be better than death every day. Why do you say so? It's very simple, because Lu Chongkong and others not only increase the amount of special training every day by half compared to yesterday, but at the same time, the vest on the body that can cause weight on every part of the body organ will be replaced in almost 3 days, and the gravity is getting bigger and bigger. So young to receive such a large amount of training every day, no wonder the Navy can appear these perverted skills of the 6 styles, and they can also be cultivated to complete. Just look at Luffy, you can only cultivate into shaving, but the other 6 styles cannot be learned. Phew. It's really life-threatening. Lu Chongkong took off the heavy vest on his body and came to a small dining hall with Khalifa, and immediately ate it regardless of 3721 mouthfuls, although in cultivation, the one-eyed dragon arranged for the iron and blood to be ruthless, and all the people were thrown into the sea, but the effect received was very good. Under the oppression of death, everyone's potential is constantly erupting, but the same damage to the body is also very huge, but fortunately, those who can survive may be the future powerful combat power of the Navy, and the Navy cannot be so excessive. So every week, there will be a day when the Navy sends someone to physically examine and treat everyone, and at the same time to check the strength of each person. I have to say that the Navy's medical equipment is really good. If Whitebeard receives this kind of treatment every day, his dark injuries have long been healed, but unfortunately this can only be thought about. And Lu Chongkong and Khalifa are the happiest among everyone. Why say this? Because Khalifa eats the fruit of light. At first the two were not used to this kind of training, they all survived with a fierce force. But when they returned to the dormitory at night, they found that there were huge scars all over the body, and even many internal injuries. If they didn't ask in the long run, it would definitely cause the same dark injuries as Whitebeard. At this time, Khalifa's fruit of light has played a great role. Every day is to use the holy light to treat Lu Chongkong and herself. With the long-term use and understanding of Khalifa's development of the fruit of light is also improving every day. Of course, seeing his sister and girlfriend's fruit ability is getting stronger and stronger. As a manly Lu Chongkong is of course also with the traditional machismo of the Celestial Empire, so he quietly and constantly uses his fruit ability every night when no one finds out in the dead of night. Keep using it until the brain is tired and the mind is too heavy to bear the consumption. Hehe, the world is really cruel, but the absolutely righteous Navy is even more cruel. I remember when the two of us first came here, there were almost 50 people here, but now there are only about half left. What a irony. Khalifa said in a mocking tone, while quietly stretching out her jade hand to probe into Lu Chongkong's chest, and at an angle that no one could see, Khalifa's jade hand began to emit a faint golden yellow light. Phew. It's so comfortable. Lu Chongkong suddenly looked intoxicated. Not only Khalifa's jade hand touched his body physically and sensually comfortable, but also Khalifa's holy light entered the body to wash his body scars, let the internal injuries of his body disappear, and at the same time let the traumatized part of the body heal quickly. It is precisely in this way that Lu Chongkong and Khalifa can train without scruples and even keep up with Bruno's progress in a short time. Compared to Rob Lucy, it is a line of difference. You must know that Lu Chongkong and Khalifa have only been here for 2 months. Bruno, on the other hand, came a year earlier than Rablusai, 6 years before Lu Chongkong, and Rablusai was 5 years, while Lu Chongkong and Khalifa caught up with a person who had undergone 6 years of training in 2 months, and the role played by the bright fruit was enormous. Hey, you two are quietly hiding here without guessing. It's really envious and jealous. We are training every day to die and live, but you two are here to deal with me. Just as Lu Chongkong was enjoying it safely, a hearty voice suddenly rose from his ears, and Khalifa quickly withdrew his jade hand, and his pretty face couldn't help but rise 2 red halos. I said, Kaku, the owl has told the secret of your hemorrhoids, so don't come out and lose your attention, okay? Lu Chongkong was very unhappy that Kaku, a guy who didn't understand the customs, disturbed his enjoyment and treatment, and the first sentence was to uncover his scars. Bastard, I said I didn't have hemorrhoids, it was just ordinary inflammation of the wound. Kaku looked at the people around him looking at him with strange eyes, and suddenly roared, almost didn't fight with Lu Chongkong, but finally thought of the 2 people in front of him who were advancing and retreating together, and the speed of strength improvement saw the existence of monsters, plus the strength was in his IQ, and Kaku could only vent all his anger on the owl. Hey, Lucci doesn't have to pretend to be cool here, there are no outsiders here, the cool appearance is just a disguise to protect yourself, there is no unnecessary conspiracy and calculation here, only the strength of the strength, your disguise can be put away, and the people who do this are too tired to put you away. Lu Chongkong looked like he had been friends with Rob Lucci for many years, and reached out to put his hand on his shoulder and said. It is strange that Rablusai, who has always been known for his ruthlessness, did not push away Lu Chongkong's right hand, let alone get angry, but the corners of his mouth turned up slightly, squeezing out a very ugly smile. This change suddenly made the people nearby who knew him a person in surprise and make a noise, not to mention them, even the owl and the others and the people who were very good to him couldn't help but show a surprised expression. and even Kaku, who was still angry with Willow Air, quietly gave him a thumbs up. In the past 2 months, Lu Changkong and they have lived and trained together every day, except for sleeping is not together. They basically stay together, even if they don't say a word, the relationship will not be bad, plus Lu Changkong is sociable, and after 2 months, he has completely established a good friendship with this group of future CP9s, and even Rob Lucci is convinced by Lu Changkong's Tai Chi means. Why do you say that? At this time, Rob Lucci is only 11 years old, has not yet begun to learn the 6 styles. There are still 2 years away from the realm of killing a ship of pirates and 500 hostages in an indiscriminate blow. At the age of 13, Lu Changkong came for 2 months, but the training he received was not even comparable to the Rob Lucci in the team, at least twice as much as Rob Lucci, and Lu Changkong was originally very terrifying in terms of physical potential, under the most efficient training and the oppression of death, coupled with Khalifa's bright fruit as a backing treatment. Completely regardless of the burden of the body, Lu Changkong's physical fitness and strength began to improve every day. Episode 22. Although he has only been here for 2 months, his physical fitness has reached the point of Bruno, only a line worse than Rablusai, but in the actual battle, he actually put down Rablusai, to win the friendship of Rablusai, who has a tragic end because of the mutilation of pirates, and at the same time under the teaching of the Navy, the fastest and best way is to defeat him in strength first, and then use a soft policy, plus Lu Changkong is not for any bad purpose for him. In the case of carrots and sticks, Rob Lucci also accepted Lu Changkong as a friend. After all, no matter how cruel and ruthless he is still only an 11-year-old child. No matter how much the Navy brainwashes him and how he changes, it cannot change the fact that he is only 11. If it is a Roblik when he grows up, even if you are in a stick and carrot, it is useless, only in childhood from an early age in the possibility of success. Fortunately, with the bright fruit of Khalifa, I can use the shaving without scruples, otherwise I would not be this guy's opponent at all. Luck is indeed part of strength, and it is also an essential part. Lu Changkong almost didn't laugh while eating and watching, but in order not to hit him, he finally endured it. But looking at the way his 2 sword eyebrows were constantly shaking up and down, he also knew that he endured very hard. That's right, Lu Changkong has only been here for 2 months, even if he is a genius, how much training he has, how big it is impossible to catch up with Rob Lucci, a genius who has introduced naval training since he was a child, in such a short time. The reason why he was able to defeat him in actual combat was completely to take advantage of the moves and skills, completely ignoring the burden and damage to the body under the use of the instant 6 times of shaving to defeat Rob Lucci at absolute speed. But only he knew afterwards that when he returned to the dormitory, he accepted the teaching of Khalifa. Then, after almost half an hour of healing with the holy light, the body was completely healed in bed. Changkong, do you guy want to laugh and laugh? Don't show this look, it's too funny for you. Kaku said very facelessly. As far as I know, it seems that I am preparing for actual combat, and it seems that it is still in the afternoon. Hey, I really hope that the one-eyed dragon will make you my opponent. Lu Changkong smiled. The smile was very kind, but in Kaku's eyes, it was no less than the devil's smile. Thinking of the miserable situation if his opponent was Lu Changkong in the afternoon, he was suddenly like a duck pinched by the neck, and the smug smile was also stuck. Sure enough, the fruit of that mysterious person is not simple at all. In the past, only when he was severely traumatized, there would be strong resilience and that strange dream, and with the development of the body and the improvement of strength, the ability will also increase. Lu Changkong didn't care about Kaku's appearance at this time, but he was thinking about his own affairs in his heart. Before, when climbing up, she accidentally rolled down the mountain, her body was greatly traumatized. It can be said that she almost died, and when Khalifa rushed down to find herself, when she was about to treat herself with holy light, Lu Changkong's body actually gushed with blood-red light, and the wounds all over her body recovered at an amazing speed. Not only that, after recovering his body, Lu Changkong obviously found that his body strength was slightly stronger than before, although the death of long-term exercise cells was also increasing the strength of the body after rebirth, but these were accumulated over time, persistent, and Lu Changkong was previously injured and recovered from his body, which was about 1% higher than before. This obvious leap is too exaggerated. At that time Lu Changkong even suspected that he was a scion. Otherwise, why will you recover after being injured and your strength will increase? Boom. A huge gong sound suddenly sounded, and the sound spread throughout the island, and at the same time, Lu Changkong pulled back his contemplation, and then took Khalifa's small hand and walked outside. Obviously this was the sound of the gathering. A minute later, Lu Changkong's people came to a clearing, and the one-eyed dragon had already stood there, but today his face was a little strange, even a little dignified, clearly telling Lu Changkong that what would happen next might not be simple. This afternoon is actual combat training, but the high level has already given an order. Today's battle is no longer simply a test of your actual combat effectiveness and actual combat special training, and it is also a test that determines whether you can be qualified to learn the Navy Transfiguration 6 style. Each style has a unique and powerful ability, The ability to practice to the extreme is not worse than the owner of the devil fruit, and even if it is used properly, even the strong of the natural fruit may not be invincible. The naval hero Vice Admiral Carp is the cultivator of the 6 styles, and it is also a person who cultivates the 6 styles to an extremely high realm. Under his 6 styles, even the 3 major generals can only escape, so today is a godsend for you. Whether you can grasp it depends on yourself. Sure enough, the one-eyed dragon's next words not only made the eyes of those present show a hot light, even Lu Changkong was not much better. After all, what he has been lacking the most is attack skills and defense skills. His physical fitness has improved every day under continuous training, but without the support of powerful moves, he simply cannot exert his full combat power, and now after waiting for so long and finally waiting, how can he be unhappy? I will arrange you to fight one-on-one, whether you win or lose, as long as your strength reaches the point of learning the 6 styles, then you can all obtain the cultivation methods and qualifications of the 6 styles. There are no rules for fighting, even if you kill the other party. Okay, from now on, give me the name that you read. After the one-eyed dragon finished speaking, he did not give the following people time to digest and accept, and immediately began to roll call. First, Kaku versus Khalifa. Miserable. Kaku's face suddenly became very ugly. He didn't care that he would lose, but he knew that Lu Changkong was simply a taboo for Khalifa, who dared to say bad things to Lu Changkong to make him unhappy. Then the end of that person was absolutely very tragic. You know, at the beginning, Rob Luch glanced at Lu Changkong with disdain at the beginning, and then in the private battle again, Khalifa's lifeless appearance. Even Rob Lucci did not do wrong its edge. With bright fruits as a continuous treatment, Khalifa is a near-immortal existence, and her long-term use of shaving makes Roblik have no resistance at all. Now he remembered his affection for disturbing Khalifa and Lu Changkong just now, so what will be the end that awaits him? He knows very well, for the people here after offending Lu Changkong, he would rather fight Lu Changkong than fight with Khalifa. Before he had been praying not to meet the 2 demons in front of him, but he did not expect that the heavens did not let him face Lu Changkong, but let him face the more terrifying Khalifa. Episode 23, Good Luck. At this moment, no matter who it is, look at Kaku with the eyes of wishing you luck and hoping that you can live, and the unobtrusive owl directly said that he hoped that you would not die so miserably, and even the most indifferent and cold Roblet couldn't help but say a sentence, don't die. In the face of the blessings of so many people, Kaku only felt that there was one thought in his heart, that is, the wind was bleak and the water was cold, and the strong man was gone. Speed point. The one-eyed dragon saw Kaku standing in place for so long and did not come out immediately. Roared. Under the huge pressure of the one-eyed dragon, Kaku could only walk forward step by step with trembling steps, as if what was in front of him was not the beautiful Khalifa, but an ancient fierce beast. Huh. Khalifa smiled gently, but this smile was full of coldness. Her eyes flashed, and she heard the one-eyed dragon say that after the beginning, Lianbu moved slightly. Shaving. Khalifa was like a cannonball that instantly exploded out, turning into an afterimage and instantly came to Kaku. Although Kaku's strength was second only to Rablusai's existence in the future, but in fact, he was only an age with Lu Changkong, and it was not long after he came here, facing Khalifa, whose strength was no less than Lu Changkong, and even Khalifa, who secretly used holy light on himself and his body. Kaku did not fight back at all. I saw Khalifa avoid a kick, but fortunately Khalifa has not worn the high heels in the later life at this time, that is, the original work, otherwise Kaku is absolutely gut-piercing this time. But even if such speed is both weight, this sentence was said by the yellow ape, although it is not absolute, but it is extremely correct in human battles. Bang! In the face of the menacing Khalifa, Kaku instinctively felt the presence of danger, and raised his hands in a physical condition because his eyes could not keep up with Khalifa's movement speed at all, and he could only rely on the instinct of his body to defend. Kaku's face was pale, a huge force came from his hands, like a boulder hitting the earth. The dull impact sound was accompanied by his body flying backwards for several meters. But Khalifa obviously didn't want to let him go so easily, shaving continuously. Continuous stepping on the ground so that no one present except Lu Changkong and the one-eyed dragon could fully see where Khalifa's movement went, not even Rablusai, because only those who have practiced shaving and completely let all the organs of the body and brain keep up with the shaving can see clearly. Although Rablusai is stronger than Khalifa in terms of physical strength, but the actual combat power Rablusai is not comparable to Khalifa. As far as I know, Khalifa and Lu Changkong are not the children of high-ranking generals, but they are brought back from the outside by the green pheasant. But how does she know to shave, although she can only step on the ground 6 times in an instant? But at her current age, it is already very remarkable. What did he discover? If the use of strength and the control of the body can be more powerful and exquisite, then Kaku is definitely killed in an instant. But I think it is also, this kind of unfinished shaving is only her own groping. Without the correct cultivation method, it was already an unacceptable existence that she could do this. The one-eyed dragon's eyes fluctuated when he saw Khalifa shave in the 6 styles of superhuman skills. In 2 months he already knew about Lu Changkong and Khalifa, not people from the naval headquarters. So how did the 2 of them know the 6 styles? And finally, they could only summarize the geniuses of the 2 of them to develop and comprehend by themselves. Kaku has not been here for a long time, but he can actually keep up with the big army, and the potential is only below Rablusai, and he is only 6 years old, not bad. The one-eyed dragon's eyes flashed. In his heart, the two have passed the level. The inhuman exercise carried out here and sufficient nutritional support here does not seem to be comparable to the development of peers. Take Kaku, only 6 years old, he actually has a height of 1 meter 4, although it is not nothing, but in the yellow race, people cannot be less. Although the one-eyed dragon was thinking about his own affairs, but the battle did not stop. Kaku had lost the ability to defend in the clearing. Completely like a sandbag, he was constantly kicked around by Khalifa with the sole of his shoe. And in the end, it was Lu Chongkong who was a little unbearable to make Khalifa stop. But even with the medical equipment of the Navy, he could not get out of bed and walk for a week. Killing stars, you must not encounter these two killing stars. Everyone's psychology thought that before Khalifa and Lu Chongkong did not come, they all had an idea in their hearts, that is, never to touch Rob Lucci, but now it has become Lu Chongkong and Khalifa. Very simple, because Rob Lucci basically gives you a pain, and it will not be so miserable to torture. Lu Chongkong to Rablusai. As soon as the voice of the one-eyed dragon fell, after hearing that it was Lu Chongkong and Rablusai, everyone's hearts were settled. At least they would not meet the most terrifying three people, and the battle between Lu Chongkong and Rablusai was very difficult to see. They also wanted to see who was the strongest among the three, whether it was the old powerhouse Rabluki or Lu Chongkong, because the last time Lu Chongkong and Rablusai fought in private, the people who know are only Khalifa in addition to the future CP9, so people who don't know are eager to see their battles. I have understood the move you and Khalifa used before, dozens of times in a row, hundreds of times, with the help of the power of rebounding back to increase their speed. It is simple to say, but it is very difficult to do. To fully master the power of rebounding back is also their own route, as well as every sense of the body, the cooperation of organs, very simple principle, but it is the most exquisite physical skill, am I right? After Rob Lucci came out, he looked at Lu Chongkong, who looked at a good swim and always had an indifferent smile on his face, and said so many words for the first time. Sure enough, he is a genius. The original work in Luffy can win him moisture is too big, is simply the protagonist halo. After all, this is not an anime but the real world, although the protagonist's halo exists, but it will not play a decisive role. The real is still strength to speak. Known as the strongest CP9 in 800 years, where will it be so simple? The anime finally actually stood still to let Luffy fight. Hey, it may be a dark injury. Lu Chongkong glanced at Rob Lucci appreciatively. If Rob Lucci looked down on the principle of shaving, then he was really disappointed. After all, how could Rob Lucci with so many glorious ores be so simple? But unfortunately he was not the protagonist, he did not have the protection of the protagonist's halo, and he could only be defeated in the face of the protagonist. Bone Demon has finished the book. Everyone subscribe with all your might. Episode 24. Yes, but even if you know how? Can you keep up, shaving? Lu Chongkong smiled. Also like Khalifa, the use of shaving with the continuous development and improvement of Lu Chongkong has been able to break, transfer routes, directions, etc., although it is not yet possible to reach people, but compared to the previous can only make a straight line spurt has improved a lot. So fast, faster than Khalifa. Rob Lucci's pupils shrank, a bitter smile appeared at the corner of his mouth, although he saw through the shaving, but it does not mean that he can crack the shave. This is the horror of speed. Obviously no, but cannot resist, since knowing this principle Rob Lucci is also the practice of shaving, but unfortunately shaving is the simplest and most difficult skill in the 6 styles where will be so easy to master. Now Rob Lucci can make shaving, but cannot completely master it for their own use. After all, the sensory organs of his body are not fully adapted to the speed and process of shaving. Although I don't have the mastery and can't keep up with the naked eye, don't even think about defeating me just like that. Rob Lucci is obviously after a lot of training, much stronger than Kaku. In the moment Lu Chongkong moved, he was also under his feet in an instant continuous step. The number of times actually reached 5. His body strength after years of training even Lu Chongkong cannot compare, but he has not completely shaved into an instinct of the body, and he can't control it, but it is still possible to dodge Lu Chongkong's spurts. It didn't disappoint me, but you thought you could escape. Lu Chongkong looked at Rob Lucci who disappeared in place, the corners of his mouth slightly hooked. His body actually stopped abruptly in violation of the physical state. Obviously his body has been able to withstand the inertia of suddenly stopping at high speed, and the brush disappeared in place at the moment of pause to chase Rob Lucci on the left. Lie down and give it to me. Lu Chongkong said softly, swinging his right leg with the speed of the forward rush, making a crisp sound in midair, and his right leg kicked at Roblik like a long whip. Bang! Roblik did not dodge, nor could he dodge, but a conspiratorial light appeared in his eyes, only to see that Lu Chongkong's right foot on his body was actually borne by him, and at the same time endured the pain from his hands, and used all his strength to grab Lu Chongkong's right leg. Your weakness is that there is no powerful attack trick that kills with one hit. Your physical strength is not comparable to me, although your speed I can't keep up, but it's just the speed of movement. The speed of attack I am not necessarily slower than you, the strength I am indeed longer than you, this time you lost. Roblik is indeed a genius in battle, worthy of being the strongest ruthless killing weapon in the Navy, and his combat talent is really not covered. Really? Do you think I don't know my weaknesses? And grabbing my leg is your biggest failure. Lu Chongkong's right fist suddenly punched out to block Rob Lucci's right fist kicked over him, and at the same time his left foot lightly touched on the ground, and his body rose in the air by Rob Lucci grabbing his right leg as a power point, and his left leg shaved against Rob Lucci's chest. Oops. Rob Lucci secretly said, knowing in his heart that he was defeated. Shaving seems to be just a simple movement acceleration technique, but the use of the same is a big killer. Look at the ground to know. Both ground are Lu Chongkong twice used shaving cracks. Now Lu Chongkong is like this on Rob Lucci's body to use shaving, of course. He is worried that Rob Lucci pulls his feet too strong, using the power of lifting the bounce back will pull his feet off, so he only kicked twice in a row in Rob Lucci's chest. The two sides are not life and death enemies, and there is no need to fight hard. Originally endured a whip leg that combined Lu Chongkong's speed and strength, plus the hands that grabbed Lu Chongkong's right leg just now, it was already at the limit, and now he kicked twice in his chest, and Rob Lucci could only release the hands that were holding his right leg. Bang! Fortunately, the two sides are not mortal enemies, and Lu Chongkong also broke his legs in order not to be pulled off by the other party, so the power that burst out was also very appropriate, making Roblik lose his combat effectiveness, did not cause any huge damage to his body, and recovered after a day of rest. Good. Although so much was said just now, in fact, the battle just now was almost completed in a few seconds in the blink of an eye from the beginning to the end, although in the eyes of the one-eyed dragon, this level of battle is far from enough, but in Lu Chongkong's age, there is no skill, just relying on simple speed and strength is already very remarkable. Next, Owl to Bruno. The two are similar in age, and they came here at the same time to cultivate. In the original work, the Dao power value of the two of them is only 20 years apart, and the current strength is also very similar, and in the end, both of them are tied, and both lose. Dragon Set of vs Dragon Set B. After Khalifa's fierce performance and Lu Chongkong vs Rablusai's amazing battle, the subsequent battles are all mediocre, and only 10 of the last 25 people are actually passed, except for the CP9 members in the original work. The others should later go to the branch base of the Navy, or go to CP1 to CP8. And what the one-eyed dragon did not say just now is this battle, but the qualification to learn the 6th style, which is also a test as a reserve member of CP9. Well, after today, the 10 of you will leave this small island and go to different places to learn the Navy 6th style, and what you can reach in the future depends on your qualifications and chances, and now disband. After the one-eyed dragon finished speaking, he shouted disbanded, and then left in front of everyone. Finally, the 6 styles and the mysterious life return, I have been looking forward to you for a long time. Lu Chongkong thought with great anticipation, and then went back with Khalifa. He and Khalifa had been hiding the fact that the two of them had the ability of the devil fruit, and it was better to keep the whole card, because he and Khalifa knew that one day the two of them would leave CP9, because both of them were people who did not want to be bound, and they really did not have a good impression of the Navy. What they liked was a free and unfettered life. After returning to the dormitory, Khalifa immediately pulled out Lu Chongkong. Looking at Lu Chongkong's doubtful gaze, Khalifa smiled softly, 2 small dimples rippled on her beautiful face, and then under Lu Chongkong's surprised gaze, the body slowly turned into light, not partial, but the whole body turned into light, not the dazzling and sharp of the yellow ape shining fruit. Khalifa's elementalization gave Lu Chongkong a warm, inclusive, like a spring breeze. Have you mastered full elementalization? Lu Chongkong said in ecstasy, his happy face as if he had mastered not Khalifa, but himself. Episode 25. Elementalization is also divided into local and complete. Generally people who eat the natural devil fruit can carry out a short period of local elementalization in about half an hour, but to achieve a long period of local elementalization requires a certain amount of exercise and development. And now Khalifa has obviously surpassed long-term local elementalization to achieve short-term complete elementalization. In addition to the natural fruit with the same attributes, and the domineering cultivator, the basic Khalifa can already be invincible, and this light fruit can make that mysterious girl one of the most mysterious and powerful fruits, so the ability is definitely not simple, and the dark fruit opposite the light fruit can seal the ability of the fruit, then the light fruit that restrains the dark fruit definitely has the same ability, and can even purify the darkness. Obviously the very rampant Blackbeard in the original book has a natural nemesis. How long can you be fully elementalized now? Lu Chongkong hurriedly asked. As the origin of the light system devil fruit, it definitely has very powerful abilities, but these abilities have not yet been developed by Khalifa. This fruit is very powerful, the shining fruit is just a branch of the light fruit. Now I can move at the speed of light. Of course, the duration is very short. After all, the speed of light movement is very consuming mental power. Now I have only eaten for 2 months, and it is limited in strength, but even so I am very satisfied. Califa immediately crackled all her secrets like a treasure, without hiding a trace, as if telling Lu Changkong was a very happy thing for her. Yes, only after complete elementalization can you move at the speed of light. After all, if you move at the speed of light with pure physical strength, how much physical fitness is required? The resistance brought by the ultra-high-speed movement and the heat emitted by the air friction can completely crush a person's body to pieces. Lu Changkong nodded. In the original book, the yellow ape's lightspeed movement can only be carried out after turning into a light, then Califa is the same. What about yours? After Califa lifted the elementalization, she stood in place and asked with a curious baby's look. Just look at it yourself. Lu Changkong's body suddenly shook, as if the space was folded, and a person who looked exactly like him appeared next to him. Not only that, this person who looked exactly like Lu Changkong was not as immobile as before, lifeless like a log, but the same as the body, actually moved and laughed. No matter where it was the same as the body, of course, strength was an exception. Your mirror avatar has reached the spirit level? Califa's expression was the same as Lu Changkong before. Obviously she was genuinely happy for the other party. Not only that, you see. As soon as Lu Changkong's voice fell, this doppelganger actually made a shaving, and instantly came to Califa, punched over. Califa did not dodge, or defend, because he knew that Lu Changkong would not hurt her at all. This idea was deep into the soul and marrow, almost a natural instinct. Click. The mirror doppelganger's fist hit Califa's body, but Califa didn't feel any pain, but the mirror doppelganger snapped like a glass shattered and appeared out of thin air as before coming, but now it disappeared out of thin air. Now that my mirror avatar has no attack power, everything is the same as the body, and I don't think it will be long before I can break through the existing level and reach the point of channeling. Lu Changkong entry, spirit, psychic, control, God change 5 levels, simply explain that the entry is the most basic preliminary ability that he has since eating the devil fruit, just as Lu Changkong can only separate a rigid mirror avatar without any ability at the beginning. Agility is the initial mastery and understanding of the ability of the devil fruit to the point of flexible use. Psychic is a qualitative change, that is, the improvement of the realm. Take Lu Changkong is to begin to develop the devil fruit, the improvement of the level, the development direction and route of each ability is different. The realm of channeling is that the mirror avatar has the power of the body, of course, how much percent is 1% or 100% depends on what the user has developed. As for the Lu Changkong behind cannot explain clearly, after all, his current realm is still too low. The grading nouns of these realms are only divided by him according to his understanding of the mirror fruit and the information in the earth anime, not the inherent level, and he divided these levels and realms in order to understand where he is now, and there is no need to blindly explore the cultivation route. What is needed now is the baptism of life and death battle. I think my mirror avatar can achieve channeling, but these abilities can't be taken out yet. Califa, you have to remember, if someone knows our ability then it will kill. Although Lu Changkong was expressionless when he said the last 2 words, his voice was cold and piercing. I know. Califa did not have a little disgust, but nodded with such an expression, and then the two hugged each other and rested, although they can't really disappear, but hugging to feel Lori's cultivation is also a process of enjoyment. The morning sunlight shone on the two of them through the window, like covering the two with a warm golden quilt, without a little weight, but giving people a warm and comfortable feeling. 2 years of jungle life have made Lu Changkong develop a habit, then when he sleeps, he will not sleep at all, no matter where it is. As long as there is a slight change in his perception range he will wake up immediately. Califa is the same. After waking up, the two looked at each other, and at the same time showed a light smile. After a kiss on Califa's small mouth, the two got up and packed up their already small luggage. Let's go. After washing her face and gargling her mouth, Califa took the initiative to lean on Lu Changkong's left hand, and Lu Changkong also cooperated very well around Califa's Chantian willow waist. Everything was so harmonious, so natural. When the two came to the meeting place known yesterday, they found that everyone else had arrived. Even the seriously injured Kaku also arrived, but seeing that his whole body was swollen like a pig's head, and he walked like a mummy, he also knew that he was only regaining his mobility now. You guy, next time you have to take care of your wife. Everyone's brothers for so many years actually started so ruthlessly. Kaku immediately complained loudly after seeing Lu Changkong's couple appear, but unfortunately, his lips turned into 2 sausages like Ouyang Feng in the east, and the words spit out were inaccurate. If it weren't for Lu Changkong's good hearing, he might not really hear what he said. Get rid of it, you and I have gone from realizing that it is 2 months at most. When did we become brothers for so many years, and I am only 6 years old, how many years can I have? Lu Changkong said a little speechlessly. How did he not find how funny Kaku was in the original work? His original book was just a little cheerful, how did it become so funny now? Cut, no sense of humor. Forehead. I know I'm shut up. Kaku suddenly glanced at Lu Changkong with disdain, but just as he was about to say something, he saw Califa's increasingly sharp eyes and shut up very wisely. Episode 26. Okay, a few of you come here, and the other guys go over there. The appearance of the one-eyed dragon saved Kaku's little life, and it was at this time that Kaku discovered how cute and righteous the one-eyed dragon's original hideous appearance was. Sure enough, was it already being tested yesterday? The special training here is simply to train CP9 reserve personnel. The death training received by the real CP9 people will definitely not be so simple. Look at the murderous and cold look in Lu Chi's original work. The cold look must have become like this after entering the cultivation site of the CP9 reserve members. Otherwise, although Lu Chi is very cold now, it is definitely not to the point of killing ruthlessly. Lu Changkong smiled. Sure enough, as he guessed, yesterday's seemingly simple competition was actually a test of whether the people here were qualified to enter CP9. Everything was as Lu Changkong knew, except for Gabra and the lion, the two oldest people and themselves. Basically the people who were CP9 in the original book were here. Lu Changkong looked at the owls around him, Bruno, Rablusai, Kaku, Califa 5 people, and found that there was no more or less. Then the real death training began. After all, the training here is not called death at all. How can the training that does not even kill be death training? Here is just to exercise the physical fitness and will of these people and of course see their qualifications and then grade. The highest level is of course CP9. After getting on the boat, Lu Changkong looked at the endless sea, and couldn't help but reach out and touch the crystal fruit core hanging on his chest. His eyes flashed with various lights from time to time. Obviously his heart was not so calm at all. It's now the era of the sea thief. Luffy should be born. Time flies really fast. More than 2 years and almost 3 years have passed like this. It's really more and more interesting. Because my appearance has changed so much. I don't know what unexpected things will happen in the future. It's really exciting. Lu Changkong thought very much in his heart, and at the same time he couldn't help but burn a flame in his heart, called the flame of ambition. Since he came to this one-piece world, if he didn't compete with the strong man of this era, then he was too sorry. This group can be said to be the flame of ambition after 2 years of hidden development in the most secret place in the heart. It has completely surrounded Lu Changkong's heart, and the ambition and beast that have been bound by legal morality in his heart have also fully awakened. Only in this way can Lu Changkong live better and more moisturized in this era of One Piece. Is that where we're going to train? It doesn't seem to be anything special. Sailing at sea is very boring for a long time if there is no program, especially Kaku, who has ADHD, which is even more torturous for him, and his body and mouth have not stopped at all for half a day, until he sees the outline of an island in front of him. Kaku's mouth barely stops. Kaku, can you stop your mouth for a while? It's been half a day, your mouth has not stopped. Bruno, who reacted and thought half a beat slower than others, suddenly said, don't say it's him. The others on the boat are all about to erupt. If it weren't for Califa's pulling and comforting in the air, he would have been the first to kick Kaku off the boat. Cut you, this is jealous, you are jealous of my eloquence better than you. After Kaku finished speaking, he saw that the people around him had a vicious expression, and immediately closed his crooked mouth, very sensibly. In the face of the cheerful and excessive Kaku, everyone can only be speechless, and it seems that only after experiencing CP9's death training and constant fighting can Kaku's cheerful excessive character and mouth be restricted. Finally arrived, it's just harder than going to jail. I won't be on the same boat as you guy in the future. In this way, Kaku may not only have hemorrhoids in his butt but even his mouth. Let's go. Otono Owl accidentally told Kaku's taboo, that is, a secret that he could not tell. You shut up for me. Kaku's face suddenly turned red, and he immediately pulled the zipper of the owl's beak, but thinking that the owl himself would open it. I don't know where to get a lock to lock his zipper. It was really cruel enough. Give it all to me. After the Navy ship stopped at the shore, the one-eyed dragon immediately said to the people below, and when Lu Changkong and several people went down, he immediately turned around and left, as if this island had a flood beast. Then Lu Changkong and others quickly understood why the one-eyed dragon ran so fast. This middle separated a road, both sides are dense woods. The moment they landed on the island, the earth began to shake. A giant, different to a very ancient lizard from the ground slammed out. Beast-like pupils are flashing with the light of wisdom that only humans can have, and the strong breath on the body makes people tremble. Just by the momentum, Lu Changkong can be sure that the strength of this lizard is definitely far better than the one-eyed dragon. Jiao, a few of you are a few imps of the CP9 candidate. It is better to accompany Lao Tzu to have fun before you go to death training. The corner of the giant lizard's mouth showed a hint of YD smile, and then turned into a muscular man 2 meters tall, but his gaze was not at the little beauty Califa, but at all the men present. Is there something wrong with his sexual orientation? In the face of that naked eyes, Lu Changkong's careful liver is plopping up and jumping rapidly, and they don't want to turn around and run, but unfortunately, the one-eyed dragon has driven the boat away, and behind is the vast sea. They are not Rayleigh. They can swim to the Amazon Lily Island in the flesh, so Lu Changkong and others can only fight to the death in order to protect their virginity. Enough, lizard man, it doesn't matter how you want to deal with the others, but if you don't want to die, it's best not to touch that boy with black hair and black eyes and that blonde girl. Just when Lu Changkong and the others were about to make a move, a female voice like a yellow warbler suddenly appeared, and the lizard man suddenly shivered when he heard it. Didn't you leave here? How did it come back? Everyone is following the lizard man's gaze, not looking at it is better to look at it and suddenly shocked. God, what a beautiful woman this is, young and beautiful, beautiful and incomprehensible. But that pair of beautiful eyes exudes a noble and mature breath to let people know that this person is definitely not so young on the surface. It is simply a stunning stunner. It is not an exaggeration to say that she is a beautiful queen. In terms of posture, she is not much worse than Boa Hancock. It's nothing, kill the captain of CP0, and then it's a little boring, so I came back here to see, and at the same time to see what is extraordinary about the person that woman fancy, but it doesn't seem to be anything special now. The beautiful woman who was as beautiful as a queen stepped over with small broken steps, and a pair of beautiful eyes looked Lu Chongkong and Khalifa up and down as if to see what was special. Episode 27, You Killed the Man? The lizard man's eyes were round, with an unimaginable expression. If he didn't know that the woman in front of him wouldn't make these jokes, he would definitely think that the person in front of him was deceiving himself, but looking at the beautiful queen's calm and relaxed appearance obviously told him that the woman in front of him was not joking. It's just a little boring, let me see what is extraordinary about the person chosen by the woman. These two imps are handed over to me, you decide the rest yourself. Okay, Lu Chongkong, Khalifa, follow me. The beautiful queen said to Lu Chongkong and Khalifa in an unquestionable tone. After speaking, she turned around and left, not worried at all that Lu Chongkong and Khalifa would not listen to her and do it. Let's go, little ghost, good luck. The lizard man glanced at Lu Chongkong and Khalifa with sympathetic eyes, as if the beautiful queen walking in front was some terrible creature. CP0, what is that? This beautiful queen seems to know the mysterious girl. Oh my god, is this One Piece? How come there are so many people who were not mentioned in the original book at all, and it seems that each of them is a strong pervert? Lu Chongkong and Khalifa looked at each other, exchanged a look, and quickly stopped keeping up with the beautiful queen who had already walked away in front of them. God, why is Lu Chongkong's luck so good? Everywhere he goes, he is so good and jealous. Kaku completely forgot his situation under the influence of strong jealousy, and directly revealed his thoughts in his heart. Oh? You mean it's bad for me to teach you? Rest assured, although your female relationship is very poor, your male relationship is still good. The evil light in the lizard man's eyes flashed out, and he walked towards Kaku, a little sheep, step by step in the appearance of a big bad wolf. Don't. No. Help, Satyr. In the end, Lu Chongkong could only be silent after Kaku's mournful pleading. Shiwan, God bless you. Lu Chongkong could only do his best to pray to Kaku as a friend, and then followed the beautiful queen to a huge waterfall. Lu Chongkong, Khalifa hopes that you two will not disappoint me. If you make me lose interest in you, then you will be miserable. The beautiful queen scanned Lu Chongkong with curious eyes like looking at a very fun toy and said, at the same time, she reached out and gently pressed on a large rock, and the clearing in front of the waterfall suddenly separated, and then a mattress-like thing that I don't know what substance was made of. From today I am your instructor. I don't want to hear any nonsense, you just need to answer the words yes and can. If you say something superfluous, then what will happen when the time comes? Now I will briefly tell you about the 6 styles: finger gun, lawn foot, shaving, paper painting, moon step, iron block, each of which has a unique ability. Of course, the hidden skill outside the 6 styles is the return of life. What ability you will know when you comprehend. The beautiful queen did not speak, but the wind is fierce, simple, and direct without a trace of superfluous nonsense. Although Lu Chongkong knows what the 6 styles are, but after all, it is anime, it is difficult to guarantee that there will be any different changes in this real world. Just the appearance of so many strong people who did not appear in the original work knows that reality and anime are not all the same, so he also listens carefully to the words of the beautiful queen, no matter how he should be serious. This is a respect for the strong. Among them, finger gun, lawn foot is an attack technique, shaving and moon steps are moving skills, paper painting is a dodging skill, iron is a defensive technique. In addition, the order of learning the 6 styles is also exquisite. The first practice of martial arts must be their most talented skills, so the longest time to practice, the most efficient, is the biggest reliance in the future. Of course, those who comprehend the return of life are exceptions. Now let's test your talents, but it seems to me that most of the two of you are cultivators who have shaved first. The beautiful queen glanced at the small body of the two. Of course, this small body plate is relative to the 2-meter-tall lizard man with bulging muscles just now. Sure enough, after the testing of some instruments, Lu Chongkong and Khalifa, the most suitable and most talented cultivation is shaving, plus the two have already cultivated themselves into semi-finished shaving. With a solid foundation, it is too wasteful not to practice this physical skill. Good, it seems that my eyes are not wearing this dress, and then put 4 pieces of metal on each of the legs of my pants, and jump to the top of the mountain in a half squat. The beautiful queen seems to be a little narcissistic like the original Khalifa, and unabashedly praises herself in front of Lu Chongkong and the two, but she is definitely the best and strictest teacher. Why say so? Wait for Lu Chongkong to understand. When Lu Chongkong and Califa put on their weight-bearing clothes and put metal blocks on both sides of their pants, they immediately felt as if their bodies were being pressed by a huge force, and the previous exercise on the island behind the Navy headquarters was simply enjoyable compared to now. Suddenly, Lu Chongkong found that a trace of conspiracy and evil light flashed in the eyes of the beautiful queen, and he saw that she took out some powder from her pocket and sprinkled some of them on their bodies, and at the same time, Lu Chongkong's hollow head bulged, and a bad premonition appeared in his heart. You'd better jump desperately, constantly exceed the limits of your physical strength. If you can't keep breaking through, then you can only become the lunch of the beast. I will watch you from the side, you can't resist, you can only jump, otherwise you won't become a beast's lunch will also be killed by me. Although the beautiful queen's face is still so coquettish when she says this, her tone is full of naked murderousness. Sure enough, this woman rose into the air a month after sprinkling the powder on the two, and a moment later the earth began to tremble. Lu Chongkong and Califa turned their heads at the same time, and saw that there were several jackals behind them rushing towards him and the others, without a trace of emotion, only cunning and cruel and bloodthirsty eyes staring at Lu Chongkong and the two, as if they regarded Lu Chongkong and the two as a delicious meal. Go! Lu Chongkong's face changed greatly. This is the real death training, not erupting in silence, just dying in silence, immediately shouted nonsense to Califa, and at the same time half crouched down, constantly jumping forward. At first, it was okay. After all, the foundation of the two was very solid, and the physical strength was also very good, but after 5 minutes, the speed of the two had slowed down, and the jackals who were not far from the two saw Lu Chongkong's speed slowed down, and the desire and greed in their eyes became more and more obvious, and they couldn't wait to eat the bodies of the two immediately. Episode 28. Are you going to die? It is really a shame to die not in the battle with the strong, but in training, and even more in the mouth of an animal. Lu Chongkong suddenly felt that his spiritual power was shrouded in a darkness that represented death and destruction, and he even smelled death. Just when Lu Chongkong couldn't help but give up, he saw that he clenched his silver teeth, even if his face was white, but there was no trace of discouragement and abandonment in his eyes from beginning to end, compared to himself who was so easily discouraged and gave up. Did he eat white food in the past 2 years? It seems that I have been complacent about my achievements recently, but this kind of psychology is unacceptable. Nope. I don't want to die. I promised Califa I definitely can't die. Lu Chongkong's originally somewhat proud heart was instantly abandoned by him, and his eyes once again burned with the madness he had cultivated when he was fighting wild beasts and beasts in the jungle. The body that had reached the limit and was about to fall under the support of Lu Chongkong's tenacious will that surpassed the restraints of the body speed that was about to be bitten by the jackal behind him suddenly increased again, so that the beautiful queen who used the moon step to stay in the sky nodded, and secretly said in her heart, although I haven't seen how high the qualification is, but this will alone is enough, and the physical strength has reached the critical point of breakthrough, it seems that the recent time will not be so boring. If Lu Chongkong, who was still working hard below at this time, knew that everything he had now was just watching a performance to relieve boredom in the eyes of the beautiful queen, I don't know if he would ignore the gap in strength and immediately find her desperately. Is this the limit of transcending physiology? It's so cool. I feel that the hidden potential of being blocked has appeared again. Haha, I like this feeling. No wonder those strong people say that the biggest enemy is themselves. If you want to defeat others, you must first defeat yourself. This feeling of constantly breaking through yourself is too wonderful. Lu Chongkong clenched his silver teeth with a will to never give up. Every time his body was about to lose strength when he couldn't withstand the fatigue of the muscles and was about to lose strength and fall, he was so dead to hold on. This breakthrough in life and death is really cool. From the body actually produced a force. This force does not know where it comes from, but naturally produced, and even every time the physiological limit breaks through, his head will suddenly relax a little, and even feel the changes in the body. That's when the potential of the body hidden deep in the depths is brought out. And Califa next to her was also affected and driven by Lu Chongkong's crazy will. She was already dead and refused to give up. She bit Lu Chongkong's tail, without any lag. Obviously Lu Chongkong broke through, and she also broke through. Very good, the breakthrough of physiological limits is easy to say, but how many people can do it? Not bad. It seems that the woman's vision is really unique. The girl should have eaten some kind of strong resilience fruit, otherwise even if her will can persist, her body will collapse. Hehe, is this considered cheating? It shouldn't count. I just said that you can't resist. I didn't say you can't use the devil fruit, flexible and good. The beautiful queen actually maintained the use of the moon step from beginning to end. You must know that even a 6-style expert like Kapu can't stay in the air for a long time like her. You must know that the consumption of the moon step is the most huge in the 6 styles, and even the consumption of the other 5 styles in the 6 styles combined is not as large as the consumption of the moon step. Half an hour later, under the strong training of the beautiful queen and the oppression of death, Lu Chongkong with strong potential, Khalifa with the assistance of the devil fruit, both of them climbed to the top of the mountain, and the moment Lu Changkong climbed to the top of the mountain, he found that there were 5 other islands nearby, a total of 6, and in an instant he understood that cultivating the 6 styles definitely required different venues as assistants, so that cultivation could be twice as effective with half the effort. If it was put in the previous island, Lu Changkong would definitely not be able to do such a distracted cultivation as he was at this time, and the effect would be far less than now. Phew. Call. Great, no wonder those guys in CP9 in the original work do not have high Dao power, but they can use such perverted skills, their physical limits, and will have long reached a non-human level. No wonder it is called superhuman skills. To use the superhuman skill is simply to need the same superhuman physique and will. Lu Changkong glanced behind him and found that those jackals had long left. Obviously he had abandoned them far away. He really couldn't imagine that the speed that broke out in a half-squat jump could actually get rid of the jackals. He really didn't dare to think that he and Khalifa had actually broken through so many times in half an hour. It was really unimaginable. Sure enough, with the guidance of a famous teacher, the effect is much stronger than your own random exploration and cultivation. Lu Changkong sat on the ground, feeling the sourness and numbness of his muscles, and even could feel the slow changes in his muscles, and his face couldn't help but show a sigh of enjoyment. If the world could become strong simply by exploring on your own, you would have been flying all over the sky. The beautiful queen didn't know when she came behind the two, looking at the two with a playful face, especially when her mature, deep eyes stared at Khalifa, which made Khalifa have a feeling of being completely seen through her heart. Fighting and being a person can't be too rigid, flexibility is king, but don't be happy, wait for your training just began. Such training can only last a month, the rest is no longer training, but life and death battles. Either kill your opponent, or you are killed, there is no second choice. Rest for 10 minutes, and then jump from the top of the mountain to the place where you just started. The words of the cold queen immediately made the weak-hearted Khalifa quietly breathe a sigh of relief in her heart, but the following words made the two almost not faint. Letting the jackals chase you can no longer have a significant effect. This time change to tigers. By the way, these tigers are trained, much stronger than ordinary tigers, especially speed. You can do it yourself. Sure enough, Queen Lingyan completely regarded Lu Changkong and Khalifa as her own entertainment program, but in the same way, the effect received under the teaching of this kind of strong master is also very huge, otherwise Lu Changkong would have turned his face and did not recognize people. Roar. A very familiar but louder roar suddenly came from behind. Lu Changkong and Khalifa, who had killed many tigers, did not understand what was going on, and even very sore, numb legs could not control so much, immediately jumped down. But what made them depressed was that it was easy to go up the mountain and go down, especially for the semi-squat jump. This time not only exercised their physical strength, will, but also exercised the control and coordination of the two of their bodies. Damn, this is only the first day, so scary. So what about the days after? I remember Roblick seems to have killed those hostages and pirates at the age of 13 before entering CP9, which means that I have to live with this woman for 2 years. Oh my god, although her training works well, but she is too evil. Lu Changkong thought with tears in his eyes while jumping wildly, and after hearing the footsteps and roars that were getting closer and closer behind him, Lu Changkong could only abandon these ideas and devote himself to training. Episode 29. A month of special training that can be called absolute death has finally been completed, and Lu Changkong has been living a life worse than death every day for a month, although he has constantly broken through the physiological limit, but even so, coupled with the continuous use and development of Khalifa's bright fruit, he can barely keep up with the crazy training system of the beautiful queen. No wonder the lizard man said good luck at that time. Hey, I kind of have a superhuman physique now. Lu Changkong smiled bitterly, standing on the mountain, although there was such a feeling that the earth was under my call, but thinking of the life in the past month, even if he had survived it now, he couldn't help but shiver. Since this month, he has been half squatting and climbing the mountain on the first day to exercise his foot strength, but the second day has changed, although it is also a half squat jump, but every day in addition to the full body weight bearing vest he wears continues to increase. The beautiful queen will come up with a new way to rectify Lu Changkong and the two every day, from the first 100 kg dumbbell, the medium term 100 kg alloy hammer, to the final 100 kg of mountain stone. In the last 10 days, it was even more terrifying. It may be that Lu Changkong's performance greatly exceeded the expectations of the beautiful queen, so her eyes were getting brighter and brighter when she looked at Lu Changkong and Khalifa, completely like a child seeing toys that can constantly change and have new functions every day. In those 10 days, not only did she carry heavier and heavier stones for half-squatting jumps every day, but the beautiful empress didn't know where to get 2 huge round stones, like a big ball. A thick chain was tied under the feet of Lu Changkong and the two, but on the other side were 2 huge sphere boulders. When going up the mountain, the inclined road is difficult to jump up, the force used is very huge. If you are not careful which step has a problem, you will be crushed to death by the mountain rock behind, or you will be bitten to death by the beast chasing behind the back, and it is even worse when going down the mountain. The sphere boulder is simply rolling down the mountain directly. If the speed of Lu Changkong cannot be faster and more stable, it will definitely become a powder. Superhuman physique? Don't laugh at the dead people, your current body can barely enter CP9, but in CP0 is just a waste existence, but your performance really shocked me, I didn't expect you to survive. I think your control of the coordinated power of all parts of the body and the use and bearing of shaving have been greatly improved. This is what you deserve, although you are my entertainment, but I said that I will teach you seriously, as long as you cannot die under my teaching. I guarantee that you can become a first-class strongman. Of course, the ranks of super first-class and top powerhouses depend on your own creation. The beautiful queen is really still as elusive as ever. Even the now powerful Lu Changkong and Khalifa are completely unaware of how she arrived, but Khalifa and Lu Changkong, who have long been accustomed to her haunted spirits, have long been strange. By the way, I almost forgot that you still don't know what is called a top powerhouse. For example, now the white-bearded man in the Great Channel is barely a super first-class powerhouse. If it is a peak state, then it is a real super first class. Now his body is not to mention. With your current strength, to know too much is not necessarily a good thing. Today you will have to fight for life and death. Each of these 6 islands has a large number of death row prisoners. The strength is still very strong for you now. The beautiful queen stopped when she said this, and when she saw Khalifa's look of wanting to speak but did not dare to speak, the corners of her mouth turned up slightly, and said softly, "If you have anything you want to ask, feel free. In the 6 styles, we can only complete the training of shaving and learn to shave, and the other 5 we haven't learned yet, so we go to fight people like this?" Hearing this, Khalifa immediately asked what was in her heart. "Hee, I said before that you were smart, why are you stupid now?" "I said that since the entertainment program you can become makes me not so boring, how can I say that it will also give you a little benefit? Do you think that the cultivation in this month is for nothing? If it is the one who did not use the lizard to teach you, you really have to learn one by one. The results in this month can be compared to the results of those people taught by the lizard in a year. If it is him, the 2 of you still need to learn slowly, and you have to go to each island to slowly cultivate the 6 styles with the help of the special environment and tools there. But didn't I teach you the cultivation method before? Comprehension and groping in battle is the easiest thing to learn. What else do you need with a strong physique and will? Lu Changkong and Khalifa were suddenly speechless when they heard this, but after thinking about it, they also understood why the special training in the past month was so terrible. It turned out that it was not simply learning to shave, but in order to build the physique and will of a strong person, but also to support the cultivation of the use of 6 styles of special training. The previous cultivation for the sake of shaving is just to fool the 2 of them. Okay, if you don't want to die in the battle with those people, you can comprehend the 6 styles in battle. By the way, I forgot to tell you that these people are basically either swordsmen or capable people. Good luck, come with me now. After the beautiful queen finished speaking, she froze, and the 2 of them came to the strange metal substance a month ago. Come in. When Lu Changkong and the 3 came here, they found that there were already 6 people here, basically wearing prisoners' clothes, but the appearance of these prisoners looked a little strange, actually like a trained navy, like a good baby. No one escaped when there was no one to guard, but stood in place very disciplined, heard the call of the beautiful queen before coming out. You can't leave the scope of this piece of metal under your feet, just enjoy it. After the beautiful queen finished speaking, she stepped out and disappeared in place. How can it be so strange? There is no difference between stepping on it and stepping on flat ground, but once the force elasticity is too good, it seems to be a spring. Bad, in this case I use a shaving. Lu Changkong stepped on the ground and immediately understood the intention of the beautiful queen, and when he looked at her, he found that her eyes were full of banter, like a person who watched a movie in a movie theater in his previous life, obviously treating this place as the best movie. Phew. Forget that thinking so much is superfluous, you can only devote yourself to the battle. For me, you will die. The training effect of this month was vividly reflected at this moment. Lu Changkong instantly abandoned his distractions. His eyes burst fiercely staring at the prisoner who walked in front of him, his whole body muscles tense and ready to burst into murder at any time, while constantly recalling the cultivation and use of the 6 styles in his mind. Episode 30. Now learned, sold now, only. Lu Changkong's eyes froze, and his feet were light, not that he didn't want to use a little stronger, nor did he want to use shaving, but that this piece of metal substance could not be used to shave at all, and the whole person would sink if the strength was too great. Isn't this looking for death? Gaga, can you be free by killing this little ghost? It's just too simple. This pirate thought fiercely in his heart, his eyes burst fiercely, and his steps were no less than the Willow Changkong who did not use shaving. Not only that, his huge body gave people a sense of overwhelming oppression. Just to test how powerful I am now. Lu Chongkong looked at the pirate who pounced like a polar bear. His face remained unchanged, his body did not retreat, and his whole body strength was concentrated on his right fist to punch the polar bear who was about to come in front of him. Bang! The two fists intersected, and the huge impact suddenly spread out, and the aftermath of the force rippled out one after another at the place where the two fists intersected, and the nearby air seemed to become a little heavy. Oh, little ghost, I didn't expect that your strength is not bad, and your strength is not worse than mine, but if you have such a little strength, then you can die. The pirate was slightly surprised to see that Lu Chongkong was actually no less than himself in the competition of strength, but Xian even showed a sneer, and under Lu Chongkong's surprised gaze, he saw that this pirate actually made a roar of a beast, and his body changed at a speed visible to the naked eye. The white fur covered his body and turned into a polar bear close to a human form, but sure enough, it was no wonder that it gave people a feeling of strength. It turned out that he ate bear fruit. By the way, I forgot to tell you, although the pirate in front of you is only 5 million Bailey, but it is because he was unlucky to meet Carp who went to travel as soon as he debuted, so he was caught by him. But his strength may not be comparable to him even if the strength of the average pirate of more than 10 million or even 20 million. The beautiful empress on the side explained to Lu Chongkong very in time. Damn, why don't you say, strength and defense are perverted bear fruits, now I'm close, I can't escape if I want to. Lu Chongkong smiled bitterly, but at this time, he was no longer allowed to think about it. The pirate who had turned into a polar bear let out a beast roar, and the hideous huge sharp claws directly cut through the air and pressed against Lu Chongkong's small body that he thought was for him. At such a close distance, in the face of the polar bear pirate whose sudden change strength had at least doubled, Lu Chongkong could only raise his hands conditionally and withstand the polar bear's claw blow. With a bang, the terrifying force smashed Lu Chongkong's hands to the point that they were about to twist into twists. Not only that, but this force was so huge that Lu Chongkong could not fully withstand it, and the invisible force was like a truck pushing him out. I'm going to die without this piece of metal? No. I don't want to die, I don't want to die. Glancing at his body that was about to fly out of the metal plate, one side was life and the other side was death. Between life and death, Lu Chongkong only felt that his originally somewhat irritable heart instantly calmed down, and he was still calm to the point of indifference, and his mind couldn't help but emerge the extension of the shaving in the 6 styles, the use of the moon step. In an instant, Lu Chongkong only felt as if he had lost control of his body, and the double script could step on the metal block under his feet, and the power was so great that Lu Chongkong's whole person was concave, but at the same time, it allowed Lu Chongkong to avoid the end of flying out, and the power of rebounding back made Lu Chongkong bounce slightly. Moon step. The whites of Lu Chongkong's eyes suddenly disappeared, the black pupils were infinitely dilated, and in the end, the two eyes actually completely lost the whites of the eyes, becoming black eyes throughout, like a black hole as boring light. The body slightly soared in the air at the same time, both feet kicked in the air, kicked out dozens of times in an instant, changed the trajectory before falling, actually violated the laws of physics and floated into the air, and with Lu Chongkong's continuous kicking, the higher the height of liftoff, and with the continuous use of Lu Chongkong seems to have touched the trick. Obviously, between life and death, Lu Chongkong burst out with amazing potential, whether it is the brain or the body, insight into the mystery of the moon step. Not only that, because the beautiful queen's cruel training under the body can fully withstand the burden required by the moon step. In just a few seconds Lu Chongkong, with the increase in the number of times the moon step is used, his moon step use is more and more ethereal, more flexible. Without the beginning of rigidity, the consumption of power is also reduced, the control and use of power continues to improve. How is it possible, actually flying with the body alone? What kind of ability is this? This is not a devil fruit at all. The pirate who has turned into a polar bear has a pair of beast pupils full of horror. In the 20 million Bailey pirates, he can basically be said to be close to the undefeated existence, but in the face of people who can fly, then now he is absolutely useless. Even if you can fly, I don't believe you can stay in the air forever. I am waiting for you here. When you don't have the strength to fly in midair, it is your death. However, this pirate has experienced 100 battles after all, and after being surprised, he quickly calmed down, and even thought of a way to deal with it, because he knew that Lu Chongkong could not escape, and sooner or later he would have to come down to face him, and when Lu Chongkong was not the same, it was difficult to escape death, and when he thought that he was going to leave these small islands, his eyes burst with excitement and killing intent. Stupid, I can use the moon step that consumes the most foot strength and physical strength, so do you think I can't make it out of the same foot power Ayrshire? Sure enough, the 6 styles are related to each other, and the premise of learning and using them is to have superhuman will and physique, and now these two beautiful queens have helped me build them, so learning the 6 styles is just like picking up a water cup. Lu Chongkong grinned, but it was a sneer, and the beautiful queen below clearly captured Lu Chongkong's sneer, and the appreciation in her eyes flashed, and she secretly said in her heart that she finally understood. Ayrshire. Lu Chongkong's icy voice spit out from his mouth. His right foot was slightly bent, and he kicked out a super high-speed kick in midair, and at the same time, a blue vacuum slash appeared in front of Lu Changkong, and instantly slashed his body from the sky like Mars hitting the earth under the terrified gaze of the polar bear pirates. Ah! The polar bear pirate only had time to let out a scream before he died, and then his body was split in half, and the scream that would have continued could only stop abruptly, not to mention the dead him. Even if the other pirates standing on the side saw so many changes in an instant, they were a little overwhelmed.